students in this public speaking, you ever apologize before a speech? Now I'm about to break the rule. I apologize. For some reason, I had an image in my mind that this place was located in Morrill's Corner. And I stopped there, and I got out, and I went, wait a minute, this is the place. So I said, okay, I'll get to my trusted cell phone. No Wi-Fi. So I go across the street to get Wi-Fi. I establish contact. I got contact. I send a message. The phone dies. I run back to my house to recharge the phone. Okay. So to make a long story short, I'm finally here. So let me just say a couple words by way of introduction. A lot of you know who I am. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Harlan Baker. I was a state representative from Portland from 1979 to 1988. And I also chaired the Democratic City Committee in Portland for about 4 years. And I've been attending caucuses and conventions probably since 1972. So I'm aware somewhat of the process. So my talk tonight really is to tell you what to expect when you get to the caucus, and maybe if you have an opportunity, if you've brought your calculators with you, I'll sort of demonstrate how the caucus will work once you're there. I know Seth's got a calculator, great. So here's essentially what happens. First of all, where the caucus is going to be in Portland, that hasn't been determined yet. One of the reasons it hasn't been determined is because there's no Democratic City Committee that really is functioning to make that determination. So that's, yes, that is so, a number of people, including Herb Adams and myself, are going to call a meeting so we can have it official, and then we have to hunt for a place. It's been suggested, 3 places have been suggested: Portland High, Deering High, and Cumberland County. Cumberland County is not a public building. That leaves, because we have these public buildings, we need rooms for breakout. So it'll either be Portland High or Deering. The advantage to Deering is more parking. The disadvantage is people who live in town, they complain that they can't get out there on Sunday. Either way, it's not good. But now let's assume that we've got the caucus. Maybe it'll be at the past, who knows. But we have a caucus, we have a meeting place. When you arrive at the caucus, the city clerk will set up places for people to register or update their registrations. This year, there is a new rule in effect, which means you have to be enrolled in the Democratic Party prior to the caucus. I believe the cutoff is sometime in February.
Actually, you can enroll if you have never registered
Before,
But if you want to switch parties, you have to do that. I think it's the 15th.
15th, all right. Well, if you haven't enrolled, but if you're switching parties, but I think you can enroll the very day. If you're not enrolled, you can enroll that day.
That's the 15th of February.
So that's one thing that's going on. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be. So you arrive, and then there's this huge, generally big meeting. There's everybody there. You're checked in. I'm not sure whether or not you'll be given a slip of paper to show that you've been checked in or registered. Hopefully they will do that so we know who should be in the caucus meeting room and who shouldn't be. All right, that's really important. And so it may take a while to check everybody in. Once everybody's checked in, there are speakers. So you listen to speakers. Now, that would take probably an hour. Now, what I'm advising that people do is that if you don't want to listen to the speakers, to find your caucus room and wait there, all right, so that you're there. The last 2 caucuses, that presidential caucuses where there's a contested election, 2008, 2004, were heavily attended, a lot of crowds, we had to move some rooms, there's too many people. So that's where you get there. But let's assume that we're all now in our precinct. We've broken down into precincts. This is unusual because Portland has many precincts. And we're in a precinct room. So we're going to pretend right now we're in a precinct room. All right? We're all in one precinct right now. And the person who's in charge of running the precinct, it could, we don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to have hopefully 2 people there. My idea is to tell the city committee to have 2 people running the precinct. One Bernie, one Hillary, and I don't know if O'Malley will run anything at this point. So you have at least two, so that it's not, nobody's pulling any punches here. Now, the first thing they're going to ask once everybody's gathered is for you to state your preferences. We do two votes. First is sort of a straw vote to see where everybody stands. Now, what would happen is that we'd say, and the counters, you'd have people say, all right, who is here now for, I'm going to use two fictional names right now. We have three candidates running for, two candidates running for president. Okay? Buzz Windrip, right, senator from Missouri, and Senator Joseph Mendenhall. All right, we got those two. So someone would say, all right, who are those in favor of Buzz Windrip? Now, those of you who are in favor of Buzz Windrip, raise your hand. All right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we've got 4, 5. All right, there's 5. Now, who's in favor of Senator Joseph Mendenhall? Write this down. Mendenhall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Who is undecided? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, you can't vote. No, you can't vote.
This one.
7. All right. 5, 11, 7. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, how many people are here in this room? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. All right, we've got 27. All right. So all we need to find out, 27. Now, we're going to pretend that this precinct has 10 delegates to the state convention. All right? You got that? 10 delegates. Now, right? Just hypothetically. All right, Seth, you got the calculator? Who's got the calculator?
I can do it.
Okay. So, what we need to do is find out what percentage of 5 out of 27. What's the percent?
27 divided by 5.
Oh, this is so
18.
This is what you do.
5, 11, and 7 doesn't add to 27.
What?
5, 11, and 7 doesn't add to 27.
All right, what's it add up to?
23.
23. Okay, fine.
So I'm not good at that.
Somebody didn't vote.
Jeremy.
4 didn't vote.
All
Well, he
right.
voted 3 times.
You didn't
Okay.
vote.
You said that really fast,
All
so.
right. So it's 23. So 5 out of 23.
23 divided by.
Yeah, 5. What's percentage of 5 votes? And what's percentage of 23?
It's in between 20 and
Divided by
25.
23.
22.
Who's bringing a calculator?
0.217.
0.2.
21.7.
22%.
All right, hold on. Let one person speak.
22%.
Okay, 22%. All right, 22%. All right. Now, 11. How many is that 11?
23 minus 11, you mean?
Yeah. What's the percentage of 11 out of 23?
48.
25.3.
48.
48%. Okay, 48%. So here's the percentages here. Keep the percentages. We have what? 20. Hold on. We have 20 what? 22 and 43.
48%.
48 and 23. All right.
22.
22%. 48.
22 and
48.
48. All right. All right. And 44 undecided. Okay. We got 10 delegates.
30. It's 30. 30 undecided. 30%.
So almost
All
half.
right. Why are we changing all this?
That's add to 100, right?
Right. We got all the, I don't have the computer here with me, so all right, so we got, how many have now delegates? We have 10 delegates, all right? So what percentage goes to Windrip? 22%, all right? What goes to Benhaven?
48.
48. And what goes to undecided? 30, all right? Now, you get an idea of what it is. Now, get this. You get to vote again.
Why is
You
that?
get to vote again.
So why is that?
Because you've got the opportunity for the undecideds to make a decision of where they want to go. All right? That's always been the way it's worked. All right? So the undecideds might say, sitting on the fence and see that Menhaden is really doing well. And maybe I should throw in my lot with Menhaden. All right? And somebody else might say, I don't know, Windrip's more appealing to me. So you get to vote again. All right? So here's essentially what happens. You vote again. Let's assume that all the undecideds want to take a position. All right? They probably won't, but let's assume they do. And it's a contest between, and I'm just gonna throw these numbers out of thin air. Right? It's a 60-40 split. 40% of the people in the room are in favor of Winthrop, and 60% are in favor of Menhaden, and there's 10 delegates. 6 delegates, and remember alternates as well, 6 delegates and alternates will go to Menhaden, and 4 alternates and delegates and alternates will go to Winthrop. And that's how it would break down. Now, hang on, I'll take lots of questions. Now, once that is done, and we know that 6, let's just think about Senator Menhaden for a moment. He's got 6 delegates and 6 alternates. Those of you who are supporting those that will then decide who will be delegates and who will be alternates. You will vote, and you're sending your own people. It could very well be that all of you get to go. All right? And that's how it works. Then the caucus reporting forms. You're shaking your head?
Yeah, you're fudging some details.
Which is?
First of all, it's not just the undecideds who can be lobbied to switch, and this becomes really important if there's at least 3 groups in the caucus. But you also have to look at the biggest fractions, because in the example you gave, there was 4 and 3 and 2. There's 1 delegate left, and who gets that delegate is decided by the fractions that are in that room.
Right. Well, I was just trying to give it an even number. Right. You know, the thing is, when you get down to the caucus, those things have to be decided. Sometimes you get a tie. It's decided by a coin toss.
Yeah, that's so
Not
I
often.
laughed at that one.
Not,
Yeah. So that's done. So the point I'm getting at is that the percentage, the number of delegates, is determined by the percentage of the people that vote for the candidate in that precinct.
true.
All right, and then the specifics of math has to be worked out there. All right, I'm not going to do it in my head right now because I can't do fractions in my head. But this is essentially how it works. Okay, the main thing is that you have to understand that you're going to be in a room with people. You have to vote. You vote twice. First time, and then there's a moment where people can switch and change. All right. Now, hang on. I'll take all those questions. So I promise. So then, what you have, all right, is the delegates are committed to their candidates. They vote on who they're going to send to the Augusta. Fill out the people in the precinct chairs. They fill out a caucus report and submit that caucus report to the city chair, who then submits it to the state party, so that those people who've been elected delegates and alternates will then be contacted about the convention. Now, I know you've got a lot of questions, and I know that, I went over some of them. Go ahead.
So, how is it determined the number of people within the precinct that can be delegates?
That's based on the number of percentage of the Democratic votes that turn out in the last election. And that number, by the way, is a question I've asked the state committee. And they have promised to work that out, and I said, all right, I'll give you the opportunity, but I'm calling you back right after Thanksgiving. And I want the numbers. I want to know how many delegates each precinct gets. All right? So I will have that. I won't have that information until after I get it from them.
I'm just curious how.
Yeah. It's determined by the Democratic strength in voting. I would say, based on past voting patterns, Precinct 3 is going to have a lot of delegates, and Precinct 1, the Hill, will have a lot of delegates. And then from there on down, it dwindles out. But Precinct 5 will have less, because it's not as democratic as some of the others. You had a question over here, and I wanted to get that from you. Then I'll take your question. Yes?
Maybe we can wait till after. I'm new at this. I wasn't old enough
Go
to
ahead,
vote.
fire away.
So, the idea is that you have a bunch of people showing up, right? Just your average Joes to come vote, and you're doing a head count?
Actually, I think in the room, they stand in
Physically,
separate areas of the room.
Okay.
They
So
can.
Hillary people will go
Yeah.
here, the Bernie people will go here.
That's how you prevent Frederick from voting 3 times.
Yeah,
Exactly.
here's the thing, keep in mind one thing. Yes, ideally, what you want to do is go into the corners and get the counts from there.
Okay.
Keep in mind one very important thing, from my past experience, in the 2004 caucus, we had to move everybody out of the room because there were so many people.
Yeah.
We were in the auditorium. Everybody was sitting in bleachers. So we had 2 people do the counts and make sure that they were all even, they were all right. So 2 people did the counts. Now you have to imagine being in the gym without a microphone
Yeah.
with about 200 angry people who didn't want to be there in the first place because they give up a Sunday, and second they had the room moved and right to the gym. So it was really a question of crowd control. So the count was done that way. She had a question back there.
I was gonna, you said it was based on the prior election, the number of delegates.
The number of Democrats who voted in those precincts.
Right.
In-
And my question is the prior presidential election or the prior, just the prior?
The gubernatorial and presidential, I believe it's the gubernatorial, but it's the thing that's important is when we get the numbers, that's the important thing, okay? But, this is something I want to emphasize here. Even though we don't know the exact numbers at this point today, our goal should be to turn out as many people as possible. Because the more people you have, the greater your chances are of getting those delegates that are allotted. So it doesn't matter if it's 12 or 13 or 14, you got to turn them out. You had a question?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a little controversial, but however,
Right.
2012 Republican caucus.
Mm-hmm.
I already made a motion to do delegate voting first, second, and do the presidential election first. That way, the only people that were there to be delegates, or to vote on delegates, were those diehard, basically Ron Paul people,
Okay.
which is who actually really won, I don't know if anyone remembers,
Okay.
2012. Now, is that how it's going to be in
No.
2016? Now,
For
if
us?
it's not, should we make a motion to do the presidential election first and then the delegates?
No, that's, I don't know how the Republicans run their party, quite frankly, I don't care, but here's the thing. The way the party,
It's controversial, I know.
I'm not being controversial, I'm just saying that the way the Democratic
I
Party,
said the R word.
the way, I don't care, I mean, if I was in Ireland, I'd be a Republican. If the way we run the caucus in the Democratic Party, year after year, all right, is they have the speeches first, you go into the room, you declare your preference, you vote twice on the preference in the precinct room, and then the number of delegates are determined after that. That's how it works. They don't decide it first and pull a fast one out. Yeah, yeah.
I've never lived in a Caucus state. Who are the people, can anybody go? Like, who are the people that are in the room to begin with?
Okay, good question. Let me address it. The registered Democratic voters of that precinct.
All of them could go if they wanted?
Yes, they could. Most of them don't. But yes, if you're a registered Democrat and you live in that precinct, you are eligible to go into that caucus. Mary has something and then.
And for the first time this year, there will be absentee balloting for the caucus.
That was allowed in the past.
Yes.
That last year as well. Mary has something to say.
Cynthia, that's
Just
not
really
right.
quick, I was a Jerry Brown person, and
That was last
I
year,
remember
too.
Portland,
Yeah.
Once
I mean,
again,
if it's gonna be huge again this year, what are you guys doing at the Civic Center? Have a great out.
we should, because it can be important.
Yeah.
First of all, that decision is not going to be made by me solely, all right?
Hockey season.
I'm told that the Civic Center is not the same as a public building, it's a privately owned structure, so that could be voted.
As 1 year.
We are only allowed to use municipal building, and they have to give it to us for free. So the high school can't charge us for use of the space. Yeah, I know you had a question.
Yeah, I was wondering if this procedure is documented somewhere, or you're saying it's done
Yes.
this way.
There is-
Where is the procedure written out?
It's in the rules.
Well,
Where are
no,
those
wait a
rules?
minute.
Rules are on the rules.
Okay, what I'll do, I have
I can tell
a
you
document where I'm going to, where I'm posting important links. You email me, I'll email you, or anyone in this room who is interested in these documents, a link, and you'll be able to just click on a link and go to that.
I was gonna say
It's
that.
kind of hard to find.
Well,
It is, but the rules are posted on the State Democratic Party website. You have to navigate there to get there, you can find them, and all the rules are posted, and they will tell you exactly, they were adopted last convention.
Actually, if you Google Maine Democratic Party
I'll
delegate
email
selection,
you with whatever if I can't find it.
you
But
might be.
follow, who's responsible for producing the absentee ballots?
The party, we have to find out who you speak to get the ballots, because it's not a state election.
So you don't go to town hall and get the
No, you
absentee
don't get
ballots?
a town hall. The caucus is, the caucus or primary is decided by the party, not the state. If we wanted to, we could do away with all of that and just do everything in a secret back room, and that's the way the law works. So the ballots will have to be picked up from probably a request from the state party. Now, how that's gonna work, I need to ask them and say, all right, who is the person that you asked to get that from? And that's mailed to you, and then you have to then return it.
Is that procedure
In
also in
person.
the documents that you're talking about?
Pardon me?
Is that procedure also in the documents you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yes, that would be in the
It's
rules.
something like 36 pages or 28 pages or something crazy like that, of very dry material. Good luck.
How
Mike,
far
go ahead.
in advance was it?
Mike, you had something to say, and then
really
I'm gonna get this
hard.
woman over here. Mike?
I was just gonna say that that was gonna be my question, and I knew you probably didn't have the answer, but if we could have that as one of the links that you send out.
Yes, yeah,
Where you
I'll
get
put
them,
that
where
in
you
there.
return them,
Yeah.
and can you get extra copies, you
Yes.
know, to your neighbors?
Yeah, well, you had a question, comment, yes.
Now, if they can, use absentee ballot, how's that gonna affect two voting? You're gonna have two votes, right?
The absentee ballots are then opened at the precinct.
And they will be going, they can't switch,
No?
they have to stay right where they
Yeah,
are. So
yeah, well,
that's
that's-
one thing that people have to, if they're thinking of being absentee, they have to know that.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's,
That's
yes.
a vote that can't be swayed too.
I know, they're not there, you can't sway them. You had something?
As far as like campuses go, because a lot of students, would it be better for them to stay with, if they're a Maine resident and they're like, living on campus or in Orno or wherever, would it be better for them to stay with their home precinct or with like, where they are?
Depends where they're registered. I mean, if they're, you know, they can register where they're living in.
But would it be better for them to re-register? Do you think?
If it meant a difference between being able to attend a caucus or not, then I would update, my advice would be to update the registration where you are living. And where are you living in Gordon, or?
I live in Orno. I'm gonna be organizing, I'm the organizer for Maine, and I just want to know what would be the best as far as strategy.
I would recommend that if people would caucus where they're living and vote where they're living, because if you had to go all the way back to your hometown, the caucus day, you might not make it. So if I'm a student in Orono, and I'm registered back in Portland, but I haven't been in Portland for months, for years, and I have to go all the way back. But if I'm living there, I am allowed to register there, that is considered my residence. Despite what anybody else might tell you. Somebody else said something before I get to Seth, you had a question.
I just wanted to follow up on Jensen, but I can get you later.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Harlan sort of gave you a logistical answer about how to get there. Strategically, one of the reasons why the state needs organization is to get a sense of where the Bernie Sanders support is strong and where it's weak. So if you're talking about strategically, people should register within enough in advance that they're complying with state law, where their votes are going to do the most good for Bernie Sanders. I mean, that's the strategic answer. But that's, again, why organization statewide is needed, so that, you know, you get a sense of where the votes are going to be needed.
Definitely, I could also be strategic though, because if they can't make it, then, you know, it might be better for them to stay with, you know, Orno or.
That's a legitimate.
That's a decision that individuals have to make, though, all right? I mean, you can't, you know, Barney, you had to say, you had.
Yeah. So 2 questions. First of all, with the absentee ballots, I mean, again, first of all, it's a vote that can't be switched.
Yeah, right.
And second of all, it's something that you can ask somebody to do, so you don't have to tie them up on March 6th. So should we really be pushing for these absentee ballots as we're going out and trying to organize?
Hang on a second.
First of
Also,
all,
if I could interject, in New Hampshire, I ran into at least one person who had a son in college who wanted to do an absentee in the primary. Is that something that you can do in New Hampshire?
I don't know what the rules are in New Hampshire, but, I
Okay.
mean, if it's a primary election, then
I don't know
would
the
assume-
difference. so-
I would assume you could, vote absentee in a primary, but I don't want to stake my reputation on it, because I don't know what the New Hampshire laws are. I want to get back to what you address what you said, because you said it's better to encourage people to go as opposed to absentee. My opinion, this is my opinion now, for what it's worth, is I think it's better to encourage people to be there in person.
sure.
Yes,
That's my
because
opinion.
it can't
But
be messed with.
That absentee is only for people that just simply cannot be there because they're maybe in Spain or they're, or they're in the hospital or whatever.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking if somebody's like, wants to support, but like, I don't know if I can make it on March 6th. Well, maybe you should do an absentee ballot, and when do those need to be in by also is another question, I guess.
Well, that's something that we'll have to pass along to when I get the people to get back to me on the delegate. Frederick, yeah, and then we'll get to Frederick.
So, really, I think if we look very clearly at this between Hillary and Bernie, it's going to be difficult, I think, for anyone to really want to or need to shift their preference. Now, when we had the effort between Kucinich and Dean and Kerry at the state convention, that's another thing, at the state convention. But here in your precinct, I think people are going to go with why they got there. And you've done it February, or you've done it March. We don't see many people going from Bernie to Hillary, or would there even be any reason to? Now, the O'Malley people, now, this is interesting, with the O'Malley people, there we may find people from both camps talking to the O'Malley team and putting forth their reason why they should go with us.
Yes.
So the O'Malley supporters,
If he lasts that long.
minor candidate, let's say, will have the opportunity for their supporters to be attempted to be persuaded, right?
At the precinct, yes, absolutely. I don't want to get to the state convention, because I don't want to put the cart before the horse. You had a comment or question?
Could you address superdelegates and the primary and how that fits in?
Okay. First of all, the super delegates, they're already picked. All right, that's it. All right, they're automatically delegates, and they're pledged to whoever they're going to pledge.
By virtue of what?
By virtue of probably one of pledge.
Elected officials and leaders in the Democratic.
Now, this doesn't mean that they can't change their minds. They can. But what we do at the Maine Caucus is not going to have an effect on superdelegates. The only thing we can do, believe me, I think it's a lousy system. It was put in place because they didn't want to have another George McGovern. The only thing we can do to counter that is to get more support for Bernie. There's always a possibility that a superdelegate will change their mind. I believe one congresswoman recently changed from Hillary to Bernie. I can't remember her name. So it does happen.
He said,
Yeah, I don't know the
Nancy
name either,
Pelosi,
right.
and then we laughed.
It wasn't her.
No.
That's why we laughed.
That's
Yeah.
just a rhetorical.
Sorry, thank you. Barney, you had something you want to say? Yes.
Those of us that live in small towns, regardless,
Yeah.
we have our own caucus.
Yes.
We have a precinct, and everyone has it.
Right.
Yes, every municipality has a caucus.
Oh,
Yes.
so it's just basically having like a precinct.
It depends on some towns, they don't have precincts, so everybody there is in the town, they vote in the town. So let's say, you live in the town of, East Overshoe, and it's a small town, and it's basically 3,000 residents. They're not gonna have a breakout room, they're gonna have everything done in one room. That may happen in York, I don't know what the voting.
Yeah, we only have one voting place.
Then that's all in one place, yes.
If people like lobby, like, right to.
Well, all the towns are supposed to hold the caucus now here's what's important, okay? If you find out your town's not gonna hold a caucus, I would contact the state committee right away and arrange that you hold the caucus. What town are you from? All right, well, they'll have a caucus. Trust me, they'll have a caucus.
What about CBEC?
What?
I noticed caucus and CBEC meeting,
Well,
even though.
all these towns are supposed to have caucus. If you don't hear about a caucus, you have to contact the Democratic State Committee and say, look, my town's not caucusing. And it very well may be, depending on the size of your town, you might be holding the caucus in your garage. It's happening.
When I lived in Gilead, we had a population of 186 people, and we did not caucus, we went to Bethel.
You want the ballot?
Huh?
You want the ballot? But you could have organized the caucus.
No, they asked me to, I said, no way.
Okay, but you could, theoretically you could have, right?
I could have.
Okay, thank you, that's all I wanted to find out.
Not in Gilead.
Theoretically you can, yes.
So I was coming into this kind of thinking that you would go to your normal polling place and that would be where you caucus. But now, so it sounds like you're trying to fit a larger group of people and so.
Yes.
Now, why is it not set up to disperse it amongst the 5 or however many precincts we have here in Portland?
Why isn't it? Because I think there's a logistic problem of communication. You imagine trying to communicate to people in 5 different parts of the city. Every caucus I have attended, and I've attended just about all of them since 1972, have always been held in one central location. Most of the time, it's either in Portland High School or Deering, and we've used their classrooms for breakout rooms. The exception has been an off year, that is election, the gubernatorial, where the attendance in caucus is much lower, right? They're generally held in King, or recently they were held at the Ocean Gate, right? And the last caucus, I believe, for 2020 presidential caucus, when Barack Obama was unopposed, the turnout was very small, so whoever showed up became delegates to the state convention. There was not a need to go through all this. But I suspect this is going to be a large turnout.
I know.
Are we over time?
Yeah.
Just a little.
I'm on Facebook. Contact me if you have any further questions. If I don't know the answer, I will try to find that for you.
Harlan Baker.
Thank you. Were you gonna talk about state going to national or no?
Let's learn about that after.
Okay, I want to.
Primaries,
Yeah.
how does that fit into the
Oh,
equation?
that was part of that.
Primary, we don't have a primary for the president here. Primaries are all local,